As far as like recommendations for parents, like if you have listeners here that are just learning about this, what would be recommendations you have for them or advice you have for them?
I mean, for one, when you feel like there's not any hope, that there is. And it's everything you say, it's not about speaking. It really is. You just want your child to be able to function. And so, what I want to say to the listeners is you have to keep doing whatever works, and not everything may work for your child because they're all different.
Yeah. I mean, that's something I was going to add. Every child is different, so don't compare one child you meet at community camp or you have other friends or child with the similar symptoms or the same problem. They're all very different children and they all need someone might be outgoing in certain settings and someone might be like Toyam who is timid and shuts down with a lot of people, or also highly sensitive, which is sensitive in terms of wearing his clothes with the tags to sensitive to a lot of sound, sensitive to being hot or cold. So there is a lot of different ways and a lot of different requirements your child has. So that's something I personally experienced and knowing about Toyam, like just trying different things, noting down, knowing your child, knowing what he needs or she needs is the most important thing you could do.
No, I love all this advice and really utilizing, like you said, the child's strengths as well and what he's good at. You really want to emphasize those because that's confidence builders and really utilizing, your treatment provider to really help guide you and offer you that support. Because one of the things that stands out a lot to me with parents is you guys need the support. That's one of the things that I think connected us so well is hopefully you always sensed is my understanding you and what you needed. And it's really important because you need support because you don't always understand, or you didn't back then. Now you do, and you're giving back in so many ways. But it's really helping support you so you have the confidence and the support to move on and know there's hope and seeing the positives and minimizing the negatives.
Correct. And something I want to add where like we had that big question in front of us is like, when someone says, oh, like you have selective mutism or ADHD or any sort of special needs or the condition your kids go through, everyone has this big question about medication. We had that question too. For parents to really, that's something case to case, they should always consult, say, with you being with us, and you also have not. I don't know if a lot of people know, like you have your doctor by trade before you even got into this, and knowing the medication and knowing your child and consulting with your therapist and the doctor is so important. And whether you go medication route or not, in our case we did, and it helped us with the right. So it's not like you take a pill, you wake up and you start feeling better. You still have to do a lot of this and more to get the most out of, because medicine is not curing it. It's just like it's a catalyst which is going to help speed up the process, but there's a lot of work you have to do to make your medication and the dosage successful.
That's true, and as I'm hearing you, I'm realizing I wanna do a podcast with parents with medication because I have one on medication, but I'd love to be able to talk with parents because my experience with a lot of parents is 2 things happen. One, when we get these calls a lot, my child may go to communicamp or come in for the individual intensive, should we start them on meds before? And I'm like, "Why? How do I know that your child needs meds?" I mean, there's the far majority, frankly, don't use medication, right? But when you do, you want to manage on as low as possible dosage because it's not that more is better at all. In fact, more can be way worse and cause you to be intolerable to the medication. Lots and lots of side effects that can present as ADHD, overwhelming, and it's just like no, meds aren't right for everyone at all. So and when you do make that choice, which is usually based on the child's level of functioning or dysfunction, so to speak, and the challenges that they have. And you want to be really, really low and slow and really monitor that with clinical. so that if a child's making progress, you don't have to go up and up and up. That's not right. The other thing is that low is better to start super low. And most of the kids that, if they do need meds, it's on such a small amount of medication because you are relying on the treatment, the psychological piece of this, because it is about lowering the anxiety to be able to do the strategies, do the interventions, and so your child will then see themselves making that progress without the fear in their belly, right? That sense of anxiety in their tummy and fear, and they'll be able to do more. And then so yes, what you said is so true. When you're on meds, which is not going to be hopefully that long, right? You want to be able to do as much as you possibly can do so that you can get those exposure opportunities as much as I mean, look, exposures are critical, but those opportunities as much as possible to build those skills in those settings, because then your child sees themselves that way. They see themselves making the progress and doing it, which then builds on itself. It's interesting. During COVID, we were all locked down, and there were kids that we were treating that didn't do much, right? Like most of the world didn't, but there were families that still went out and they did the takeout and they'd go to the grocery store, even if they had a mask on and the gloves in the beginning, if you remember, right? But they were doing things. They were meeting family and friends through FaceTime and interacting. Those children continued to make progress, but it was from those exposures, even during COVID, right? But the kids and families that were so locked down, they didn't do anything. Those kids were very stagnant, and some had regressions because they weren't having the exposure opportunity. So COVID was a tough time for so many families, but I only bring it up now because it just is more evidence that exposures are so critical and how it really can affect your child's overall social communication skills and confidence.